We are talking to Greg Hefferman, who is one of the consultants with US Asia Business Forum. So, Mr. Hefferman, tell me, why do you see or feel for need of such a forum in these days of politics?
This is a real opportunity for business people, not just on the West Coast, but actually all of the domestic U.S. to get involved in probably one of the fastest growing markets in the world. Just to give you an example, California represents the economy of the sixth largest nation in the world. And the business opportunities between California and Asia are growing exponentially, literally by the year. Projections are that 35% of all air travel is going to be Asian in the next 20 years. 35%. The growth rate of India and China's economies are in the 8 to 10% range. Our own here in the United States hovers around somewhere between 3 and 6, 3 and 4 if we're lucky. For example, California has major agricultural businesses in California, and we produce 1/12 of the world's agriculture. We have a company, for example, Blue Diamond Almonds, that has been doing business in India for 20 years. Huge, huge business. 1.5 million cell phones a month are being sold in India. The growth rate and the markets there and the opportunities for business people to connect at our business forum are profound, absolutely profound. We see this growth continuing for the next 10 to 20 years. We see this as a real benefit to California, which has one of the 4th largest ports in the nation in Los Angeles. So the governor is supportive of this program. The mayor is one of the also supporters of the U.S.-India Business Forum. It's going on at the LA Convention Center in December, and it's going on for 3 days from the 17th, 18th, and the 19th. And we look forward to people participating and making connections and literally making business opportunities a complete reality.
I have 2 questions. First is on the political stability of India, and the second is the clarity in the public administration procedure, and saying that, like India has been one of the traditionally corrupt nation. Now, do you think that most of the US investors are apprehensive of this kind of red tapeism or corruption in the government or political stability?
India is actually taking I want to say an aggressive stance in the government, where they have literally a group of consulting CEOs of top businesses in India who are now advising the Prime Minister of business investments and business opportunities. The IT sector, for example, is growing at 35% a year in India and 50% a year in the Hyderabad area. So this IT growth initially is what kind of jettisoned the economy in India, and it came in underneath the ministers. It was something that really the country wasn't able to control. So what's happened is a middle class has been created that now buys into markets, and it's creating markets. This is part of the beauty of
But I guess you didn't answer my question. My question is that if there is a message that American investors want to sign to the Indian political community, what it should be?
Well, I would look, for example, at other major corporations that are invested there. You have GE, AT&T. Every major studio in Hollywood now is investing in Bollywood pictures. Motion pictures, for example, have now been legitimized by the government using a legitimate banking institution. So if other foreign investors, and it's not just the United States, you have European investors now, there's a whole plethora, and if they are invested in businesses in India, and they're making and reaping extensive profits.
India is on track of reform since '91 when Manmohan came to maybe the finance minister. My question is, do you see the reform is sufficient, or India still need to do more reforms in terms of the laws and in terms of the foreign investment?
I think the big challenge, and I know some other people have addressed this, is dealing with the infrastructure, because you have such a high population. And there are several programs that are going on. There are 2 literacy programs. One is Pratham, which deals with the urban education of literacy, and the other is Ekavidyala, which deals with the more rural area. If you educate your people, the population will drop. In fact, the whole idea of educating women is what will drop the population. If you look at India and you look at the world, wherever there are high population growth, there's a lack of education of women. Bihar, for example, in India has a huge population.
So, in other words, that you think that growth of business or further sustainable development needs a proper literacy of the Indian people.
Yes, and in fact, one language would be helpful. Hindi traditionally was it, but in the South, as you know, there are many different dialects.
Why not people can live in diversity? I mean, even in being united in diversity can be a pleasure experience too.
Makes it more difficult in terms of doing business. If you look at what India's infrastructure is planning, they're trying to create an international highway route that connects all the major cities. They want to connect all the rivers to create 3 growing seasons. If they're able to achieve this, they will be phenomenally productive.
But do you think that this India's growth is sustainable because, or I mean, maybe the poorer section of people are not being included in the part of the growth?
Absolutely. 80% of the country is still living on $2 a day. So how do you bring them into this incredible middle class that's growing and markets? Eventually, this will create jobs.
So how do you think that these, let's say, 70 to 80% of the poor people can be included in our economic force? I mean, what would be your message from US Asia Business Forum, I mean, to the government, that how this large section of the people can be the part of the business force that is India?
What you're going to have to do is kind of follow some models where their jobs, or the jobs that they can get, are created by other businesses. Now, it's not going to be easy. In fact, India in some ways is like the United States in the 50s and the 60s. So is China. It has the capacity to grow beyond from where it is, but how are they going to design these cities to handle that? Well, you've got 18 million already in Bombay, and the city's kind of all over the place. So, and you've got people who've come to the cities that are looking for work. I would think that you don't want to make the whole country urban, and you don't want to any more than we want to make all of the United States urban. So there should be, a focus on work and jobs and agriculture, for example. This is one area coming from California. I'm a native of California, where agriculture is something of great value. How can what we sell agriculturally to India, and how can they sell agriculturally to us, mutually match? Because, for example, in some areas like in Andhra Pradesh, you've got farmers who are killing themselves because they're not able to handle their loans. So how can they be brought into this whole scheme? And I think ultimately it's going to come with businesses sharing. I don't believe business makes morality, though. I'd be one of the first people to admit that. And I don't think corporations think morally either. And I see that here in the United States.
Well, I mean, let's talk about this. I mean, capitalism is a science of rational greed. I mean, greed should be there, but it has to be a rational greed, means greed within the limit of regulations.
Well, even education is not necessarily moral. It took 8 PhDs and Hitler to design the Holocaust to get rid of the Jewish community. Okay? 7 or 8 PhDs.
Well, the Goebbels was a PhD in philosophy. I mean, so I won't deny that fact. But let's talk about a very simple thing. I mean, my biggest concern right now with the India is, of course, the fact that what you pointed out, the decentralization of the everything infrastructure, so that even the common and poorer mass can be included in this part of this economic force.
Right.
But do you think that US Asia Business Forum can initiate some kind of dialogue with the Indian political parties to make them aware of the infrastructure situation and can give them some kind of advisor? Or do you think that Prime Minister needs some kind of advisory from US Asia Business Forum?
Yeah, but I think, for example, the literacy programs is one of the revolutionary starts. There are almost, 400 million illiterate in India.
But do you know the interesting thing about the Indian literacy program? Within 1 year of literacy program, they again become illiterate.
Yes. So how do we keep that going? Do we use like Kalam's model of the kiosk, in the small village?
After 1.5 years, it will be all shut down because there will be nobody to maintain. I mean, I've seen that in my eyes.